everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Crime Chisme with your girl Carla. What's up, you guys? So, today we're doing something new. I've been wanting to do this, and here we are today. We're trying something new. We're going to be reading a book. Okay, we're going to be reading a book. The other day on my TikTok, we were talking about the Chris Watts. And there's a girl on TikTok that talks about the Watts case, and she gets all, she knows all the details. She knows everything about that case, and she talks about it all, like, every day, literally every day. She has like pictures that we've never seen before. Like, she has a lot of information in regards to, Shannon and Christopher and their family and everything like that. So anyway, so I was like telling them about it, and I was like, oh, I really want to read that book that he wrote with the random lady that wrote him and decided to make a book. So this book is called Letters from Christopher, and it's very, 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 very hard to find. Somebody had said something about that, there was only like a limited amount of books that they made, and yeah, you can't really buy it. And I mean, if you buy it off of like eBay or Amazon, it's like super expensive. It's like 60, 70, $90. They're tripping, girl. And I mean, I don't know why they stopped. I have no idea. But we're just gonna go ahead and read it here. Like, why not? You know what I mean? So everybody knows what's going on. Let me tell you something. I already read some of these chapters, and girl, let me tell you something. Some of these with damn words are just difficult. Okay, so I have the book right here. It was sent to me from shout out to my girl Project Chicks LLC, girl. If you guys want to get your tumblers, your chismosa tumblers, your true crime tumblers, go check her out. I'm gonna put her information in here so you guys can go check her out. Your Burgos shirt, okay, your chismosa shirt, okay, your journal, your true crime journal. Oh shit, she scared me. True crime journal like mine, I have one, and chismosa journal. So whatever you want to write down your little information, girl, go ahead and get it. All right, so she actually sent this to me, girl, because she was amazing. She printed it out for me. Thank you, girl. So I have the book right here enfrente de mí. Déjalo abro. And I'm sorry, but I am not going to read the intro situation because, I mean, it's very interesting, but I don't want to read the intro, okay? I don't want to read the intro. Let's go to chapter 1, girl. Let me see. The intro kind of just tells you, like, why she wrote him, what made her write him. We could read it some other damn day, but today we're gonna do chapter 1. If we do decide to do the intro, I'll do it in a different one. Obviously, we will just title it. You can click on whatever you need to click on. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 million, whatever you need to, girl. I'm gonna move my mic porque it's in my way, girl. Let's get to it. So this is Letters from Christopher. But hold on. Oh, Jesus Christ, this is my first time. Please be patient. Letters from Christopher by Cheryln Cadle. 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 Cadle? Is it D silent? I don't know. Somebody please tell me, because I don't have great Spanish or English, girl. I don't know how to pronounce anything. So here we go. Maybe I'm not the best person to read this, but whatever. You're here. You're here. Thank you. Chapter 1, girl. Crossing into the unknown. Here's a quote. Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. By Khalil Gibran. I don't know who that is. Okay. I took a deep breath before writing my first letter to Christopher, fully aware I was about to step into something like I had never seen or heard before. I knew life would not be the same for a very long time, if forever. When you hear the account play by play from the murderer himself, it does something to you. Soon I could see that the only thing more surreal than writing a familia murderer is reading the letters he writes you back. Here's a letter. The write in, girl. February 10, 2019. Dear Mr. Watts. Hello, my name is Cheryln Cadle. I hope I'm saying her name right, because I should have Googled the freaking pronunciation. Oh, well, you're here, and this is Carla's podcast, and we know I am not a professional. Sorry. And I am writing to talk to you about your case. I have been following your story since the day it all happened. Let me just say, crime. What the freak? Hold on. Did I skip a letter? Yeah. The crime was horrific. So I'm not writing you to tell you how wonderful you are or that I want to be a pen pal. I do not usually follow these sorts of things, but seeing you on the front porch of your house that morning giving the interview, I knew you were in for quite a journey. How did I skip my ahead? I have to tell you, the interview screamed guilty. I sense also by now you must have great remorse and probably have confessed to God all of the sins that have been committed. I know you are sentenced to prison for the rest of your life, yet I feel your life still holds some purpose. If you allow, I'm sure God can still use you to make a difference in other people's lives. I would love to tell your story of redemption, and I think in the long run it can help you. I think also it would help your family and Shannon's family for the truth to be totally told. I would like to write a book about your case if you will allow me to. If you will allow it, I need to know how I can contact you by phone, and I would need you to put me on your visitors list. I live less than 4 hours from you, so I would be able to come and visit you. Please write me back and let me know how you feel about this. I'm sure you've had other offers, but maybe none that are willing to publish your testimony. If you just feel you don't want to, I ask you to think about it again and see if we can come together on it. Please write me back at that address below. Sincerely, Cheryln. I'm going to just say C. Okay, if I say her name, her last name is C from now on, okay? I gave him all of my contact information. After 3 times writing him, he finally wrote me back. Maybe he thought he might as well. I didn't seem to be going away. He liked what I had said to him. Wait, what? He liked what I had to say. Oh, there you go. What I had to say. That he would still have a purpose for his life and help others. After a few back and forth letters, he agreed to writing a book with me. He told me he had many offers from others to write a book, but he was not the last, but what? He was not the least bit interested. So when he read my letter, the first response he had to himself was nope. But he kept feeling like God wanted him to respond to my letter. He said when God tells you to do something, well, you better do it. All of Christopher's letters in this book are written word for word, and he wrote them. I left all misspelled words and typos. March 14, 2019. Hello, Cheryln. I'm sorry I haven't written you back when you wrote the first 2 letters. You have to imagine I'm very skeptical about who I write back, and when I saw you wanted to write a book, I said nope. Although this letter you just sent me felt like God was giving me an ultimatum to write you back. I'm not sure why exactly because I have turned several other journalists and authors down. When the FBI and CBI came to the prison to speak with me, I had no idea they were coming. I felt like it was God telling me to clear my wife's name since so many people were confused about what happened. And well, if God tells you to do something, you do it. I'm currently on protective confinement since this last media storm, so I'm limited on telephone use and everything else. Corresponding by mail is our best bet for now. Thank you for the Bible. They weren't supposed to let me keep it, but they did. God's work. I have a KJV Bible and I am already comparing them back and forth, some words that have always confused me. I like the idea of telling people how I came to my faith, how God can turn any pain and suffering into bringing something new to To be born and recognizing when something evil takes a hold of your life. We are attacked all day long, and if people can learn to rest in his peace, joy, and love, a lot would change. I couldn't keep the self-addressed envelope you sent me. Not sure when the rule might change. I will do a book with you if you for sure will be willing to give me a chapter where I can tell about my forgiveness and coming to faith, so maybe it will help someone else not to take the path I did. If I can help even one person, it would be worth it. I hope this letter finds you in good spirits, and I will close with one of my favorite scriptures. God bless, Chris. And he said, unto me, my grace is made sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore will I rather glory in my infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong. 2 Corinthians 12:9-10. Sorry, I told you guys last time I didn't know. After he wrote me the first letter, he started to feel maybe I had changed my mind because I didn't get back with him quickly enough. After all, he had ignored me at first. One day, I received a call from Cindy Watts, his mother. She said it was very important to Christopher that she call me and tell me he had written me back, that he did want to write a book with him. That he did want me to write a book with him about his story and the things he has not told until now. His mother told me she had begged him to fill in the missing pieces for her. She said he told her when she reads the book, she will understand. Cindy Watts told me of the struggles they had since the day of the murders. I could hear pain in her voice when she spoke of how the son she had raised and loved was just never capable of such a horrific thing. They have come against some big challenges trying to stay out of the media's eye. The YouTubers continue to call and harass them. She said they are hated because their son did this, but never would they be okay with what happened. She thanked me for speaking with her and told me to please call her anytime. I found her pleasant, but obviously a broken person. I hung up the phone, wondering what I was getting myself into. People have been so hard on them, and it obviously shows, wondering if I would be coming up against some of the same because I am writing with and about a murderer who is hated by so many. We wrote back and forth a couple of times. Then his mother sent me the papers to apply to be put on his visitors list. The inmate has to request for a person to apply. Without that, a person cannot even apply to be put on the visitors list. I had to go through a background check, and when I was cleared, I was allowed to visit Christopher. I visited for the first time April 5th, 2019, right after everything came out to the FBI. I had never been to a prison before, and I was a little intimidated. I must say, the building is huge and very well kept on the outside. A tidy green lawn sprawled out around the building, about 2 blocks square. The prison sits right downtown in the heart of a little neighborhood. Across the street and on both sides are little modest Midwestern craft-style homes. Sidewalks and big old trees line the neighborhood, although old, very trim. As I walked into the building, I noticed to the public's eye everything was clean and orderly. The staff was matter of fact, but helpful and not rude at all. Once I passed through the metal detector, they put a stamp on my hand. At that point, I walked through a series of 7 locked doors, and I walked a total of about a quarter of a mile outside to get to where Christopher lives. They seated me in a visiting room where the walls were lined with vending machines. The only chance for the inmates to get a taste of something on the outside is when the visitor brings quarters with them for the vending machines and buys the inmate a drink or snack. I do not know if the feeling dulls, but they crave for a taste of food that is not prison food. I was told to have a seat and Christopher would be there shortly. Because of being because of being in protective confinement, for him to see a visitor, they had to bring him through an area called the hole. Therefore, the hallway unit had to be shut down, or what they call lockdown. And the other prisoners don't like that. Christopher says it's stressful being brought from his cell through that area. I noticed just being brought him. What? I noticed just being brought from his cell to the visiting room. He was shackled at the ankles and handcuffed. He was handcuffed to the table once he was seated. 3 guards stood nearby. He explained once he is out of solitary confinement, he will not be shackled and handcuffed for the visiting room. Christopher seemed to take it all in stride. I think he was just happy to see me and have someone to talk to. At that point, other than the FBI, he had not had any real communication with anyone other than phone calls to his family since August 15, 2018. I don't know what it looks like behind those walls, but for everything I could see, things in the prison ran smoothly, but everyone stuck to the rules. There were a couple of times while waiting for Christopher, that I could hear the inmates yelling and making a lot of noise. It struck me what a polar opposite it was, that he had come from an almost palatial home where he seemingly had all that a person could want or need. Freedom being the most important thing we have, and all of the little things we take for granted, like picking out our clothes, choosing what we want to eat, getting into our car and going to a movie, holding the people we love, or just walking outside when we want to. What the fuck? When we want to, are no longer offered it to Christopher as an option for his life. I can't help but wonder if Shanann didn't feel that darkness that had come over him. Christopher says she was very unsettled during that last week before, but I'm sure she thought it was a marital problem they were dealing with. However, her husband was planning on killing her. When I first met Christopher, the only thing that was recognizable was his voice. He looked absolutely nothing like he did during the interview on his porch or during the sentencing. During the sentencing, he looked on through shuttered eyes, looking as angry as a person could yet still hanging onto himself. He says later he just wanted to run and bang his head against the wall. That day at that prison, I could tell he had been through a lot. He gives account later in the book some of the things he has gone through. He immediately explained when the FBI came to the prison to meet with him on February 18, 2019, they did not tell him they were coming intentionally. They told him they did not want to put stress on him. Perhaps they didn't want to give him time to think about what he was going to say. He resented that unannounced visit, and because of that, did not tell them everything they might have wanted to know. He had already pled guilty, was in prison for the rest of his life, and really didn't owe them anything. What was to tell me will not change anything legally or make a difference in his conviction, but some of it will hurt the people who love Shanann and his girls. He felt like God prompted him to clear Shanann's name. since there seemed to be confusion by some that she killed the girls. He said something hard for him to deal with is blaming her for the killing of the girls. The FBI had some questions because there were so many unanswered parts of this case. They told him they were not going to take him to any dark places. They questioned him about his mistress, Nikki, seemingly still finding out if she had anything to do with the murders. They questioned him extensively about the morning of the murders. At the sentencing, Christopher pled guilty but never gave an account as to what happened. So people were left with his first confession. In his first confession, he told the police he killed Shanann because he caught her killing the girls. Although most people did not believe Shanann would kill her girls, he didn't tell even his family any differently. Then when the FBI came to see him, he seemingly was bearing his soul. He told them in great detail how he strangled Shanann, then took her body to the oil field and buried her. Then he smothered each of the girls with Celeste's blanket and put their bodies down the oil batteries. Later in this book, you will read Christopher's letters where he confesses the real truth, which is an extension of what he told the FBI. He left some very gruesome details out when he talked with the FBI. They promised to keep the information between them, but it was just a few days until it was all over the media. Christopher told me personally the whole story. He is not covering for Shanann. Anyone saying he did not kill the girls based on the evidence is wrong. Christopher wants everyone to know he is guilty of killing all 4 human beings: Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. He said Shanann was a good woman and did not ever hurt the girls in any way. Christopher said he hugely regrets putting the blame on her. Both of them lived for their girls. That's who they were. And the girls were the most important part of their lives. Christopher now lives with a great remorse. The remorse is no doubt from killing his family, possibly for making the wrong decisions, and that he is in prison for the rest of his life. Christopher is hard to read. He does not seem to have emotions. Hearing the voices of Bella saying, "No, Daddy," is very haunting and painful every day to him. But still, there is no emotion. There are times that even though he says he is where he belongs, it seems that being in prison the rest of his life is something very hard to come to terms with or even think about, and he hopes someday he will be free. Maybe this is the way his mind has of coping and protecting himself from the fact that he will never know any life from here forward than the depressing, unfeeling life of prison. Living in a confused state as he reels back and forth in his mind, trying to make sense of it all, looking for a place to be able to find some comfort or peace in his situation. Can a person could ever find peace after what has happened? He claims that the reason for his relationship with God, because that is where peace and solace, oh Lord Jesus, can be found. At times, he talks about his family in the present sense, like they are right with him. He does refer to them being with him in spirit. He's had a couple of dreams that seemed very real to him about Celeste and Bella being with him in the jail cell. The great challenge for any true crime writer involved drafting a page-turning story that reads well, like well-crafted literature, and simultaneously survives the most detailed of fact checks. It is an impossible endeavor because it carries the assumption that truth is deceptible at all levels, and 100% of the facts can always be known. Like all forms of art, true crime literature seeks to capture what is decipherable, paradoxically, without fabricated layers of myth and conjecture. Truth laid bare is not really truth at all. We are the mercy of the killer to tell what is deep in his mind and hope he hasn't kept some of the truth hidden where he can't know them. We can't know them. As Christopher told me once, there are some things he will take to his grave. That said, the body of my work strives for accuracy and truth. It is derived from thousands of pages of discovery in court documents, police interviews, discussions with family members, and hundreds of words in the pages of letters from Christopher to myself. How do we know that Christopher is telling the truth? That will be left up to the reader to decide. Christopher objects to some of the things I have written, I believe in part because he doesn't want people to judge him. To this day, I do not know what prompted me to get to know a familia murderer other than I needed to know why he would do something like this and tear apart so many lives. How did an innocent child grow into a killing evil monster? I needed to know what made this man tick. Why do we live in a world where so much evil exists? This story does not need embellishment. By the time I tell you the whole story, you will see that it has enough sensationalism all by itself. What he has told me is an extended version of what he told the FBI on February 18, 2019. I do believe this is the real story. This is the one that is the hardest for him to say. This is the one that brings out the chills. This story is the darkest of anything he has told. Maybe the darkest we have ever heard too. The end. That is the end of chapter 1, you guys, of Letters from Christopher. Let me know how do you guys feel about this. Let me know if you guys enjoy it. We will continue to read this book. It is pretty thick, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube and to my podcast. Why did I say YouTube? To my podcast and to my YouTube. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.